So who do we have in week 27 of the greatest 100 artists of all time? A little clue. Do you want to get rocked? Let's get. No more. Def Leppard. Def Leppard. Their story begins in 1977 in Sheffield, when a group of Sheffield school kids formed a band. Rick Savage, bass, Pete Willis, guitar, were founder members. Joe Elliott vocals and Steve Clark on guitar joined soon thereafter. With the advent of punk, heavy metal had become less fashionable. But now the music press were bigging up the new wave of British heavy metal. Bands who'd learnt some of the lessons of punk and made shorter, snappier, harder songs and grabbed some of the energy. The two leading bands were Def Leppard and Iron Maiden. Inspired by punk and at their own cost, Def Leppard's first EP was an independent effort. They created their own record label, went to Hull to record songs for an EP. The initial run was just 1,000 and they handed these out at gigs. John Peel picked up upon the EP, started playing it, it sold out. They did, on the back of it, get a record contract with Phonogram, Vertigo, and they re-released the EP. It only reached number 84 though, and it's, although they don't play the tracks from it anymore, I still think it's possibly their best work, two of the songs in particular. Get Your Rocks Off, a hard, fast, punky metal song, and Overture, I commend. It's a bit proggy, almost, lasts nearly 8 minutes, different than anything we've done since. I saw them live in this period at the prestige venue, the Norbreck Castle Hotel in Blackpool. Only a small venue. The excitement surrounding them was palpable, but soon the music press in this country turned against them. The album, when it came out, was a backlash against it in the press because it was a little bit more polished, with one eye on the American market. It was deliberately toned down a little bit, I think. And it did make the top 15 in the UK, but which was good-ish, but Iron Maiden, for example, made number 4, and Iron Maiden was still liked by the British music press. The second album, High and Dry, they brought in the services of Mutt Lange, who had produced AC/DC and the Boomtown Rats. High and Dry wasn't a brilliant success yet, but they did begin to get noticed, particularly when we started doing music videos. Bringing on the Heartbreak, it's a rubbish video really, it's all soft focus and big hair. If it belonged anywhere, it was a comedy video on Not the 9 O'Clock News, but it did get frequent airplay on the fledgling video channel MTV. Def Leppard did look good, they were good looking lads, and they were perfect for this new medium. Then there was a setback. Peter Willis was drinking too much, even while working. He had to be fired. Luckily, they got an excellent replacement, Phil Collen from rival group Girl, an inspired replacement, who soon developed a real partnership with Steve Clark. Their dueling guitars became a key feature. Collen is known for playing with his shirt off, which has always played well with female admirers, especially as in recent years he has developed what for me is a nauseatingly impressive six-pack. I speak as a nauseatingly, is such a word, an impressive man with a dad bod. Collen had joined while they were recording the third album, Pyromania, which did okay in the UK, but in the USA it did brilliantly. It really took off now. It sold 6 million in 1983. Only one record sold more in the States that year, Michael Jackson's Thriller. In 2003, Rolling Stone magazine of America declared it the 384th best album ever. And a US Gallup poll in 1984 rated them the nation's favourite rock band. In England, they were still playing clubs. But England was wrong. They were good. They were very good. Why were they so good? They're primarily hard rock, but they do have a fine ear for a guitar riff and a melody. They like good melodies. And this gives them crossover appeal to people not necessarily into anything too heavy. Jokingly, they describe themselves as the Doolies with Ghoulies. Vocally, they are strong. Not only Joe Elliott's slightly raspy lead vocals, but also a key feature is the harmonious backing vocals. Then another setback. In the early stages of working on the fourth album on New Year's Eve 1984, Rick Allen, the drummer, had a serious car crash in which he lost his left arm. Especially bad news for a drummer. But he was impressively determined, hard-working. The band stuck with him. He found somebody to design a special electronic drum kit that he could play, and he did learn to play it very, very well. The album was taking ages anyway. They had begun work with Mutt Lange, but then they turned to Meatloaf's songwriter and producer Jim Steinman. It wasn't working. Mutt Lange came back. They spent 3 years on that record. Dangerous thing to do. But it was polished to within an inch of perfection. This was the 80s after all. When Hysteria did come out, even the UK liked it, and it went to number one both sides of the Atlantic, and spawned a remarkable 7 hit singles. The ballad Love Bites even made number one in America. It is their best-selling album, and over time it sold 25 million, 12 million of them in the USA. The biggest single hit in the UK only went to number 6, Animal, their first top 10 hit. But in the USA, Pour Some Sugar on Me went to number 2, and that has become arguably Def Leppard's signature song. VH1, the TV channel, video channel, once ranked it the second best song of the decade. Hysteria, the single Hysteria, went to number 1 in America. The album was a stayer. It stuck around the charts for 3 years, and they did an accompanying 16-month tour very successfully. So, while working, how could they follow this? While working on a follow-up, sadly, Steve Clark, the second guitarist, his drinking was getting out of hand. The band gave him leave of absence to sort himself out. He didn't manage to do it. And he died in 1991 from a combination of alcohol and prescription drugs in his London home. The remaining band members carried on and recorded Adrenalize as a 4-piece before hiring Vivian Campbell. It reached number 1, both sides of the Atlantic again. It was like Hysteria, but maybe not quite as good, nor quite as successful. Nirvana and the grunge scene were coming out now, followed by Britpop in the UK. If the band ever had been fashionable, excuse me, for about 2 weeks in 1977 they were fashionable in the UK, but they certainly weren't fashionable now. Although they did have one last big hit, a surprise hit in 1995, in the form of a bonus track on taken from their greatest hits record. When Love and Hate Collide, a power ballad, made number 2 in the UK, their biggest hit in the UK. I prefer the rockier songs though. I nearly always do prefer rockier songs to ballads. They are still a going entity with the same core members since 1992. They still put out decent records and sell out arenas and headline festivals such as Download, the UK's biggest rock festival. They don't sell as many these days, but that's just builds tension. How many did they sell over their lifetime? Over their lifetime, they sold 100 million. I better sign out on that. See you next week.